living world. So as I said to you, I already completed the concept of species, binomial nomenclature, human hierarchy, and kingdom animalia classification. That all were completed in previous classes. Just it's a formality for us now that to see the branch along with the branches of zoology we are completed. Just it's a formality to us just to learn about the some introduction of the textbook given in the diversity of the living world chapter. Okay, so Charles Darwin is a British naturalist. The British naturalist who went around the world in the ship called HMS Beagle for 5 years. He published his findings in his book Origin of Species. According to him, evolution involves with descent with modification. The bigger word, we are going to learn that in detail in organic evolution chapter. Simply we say now, as particular species which are living on the earth is going to change according to the environmental changes. When environment changes, the species are also going to be changed. That we learned in this concept of species in the form of a dynamic nature of the species. We learn in the form of dynamic nature of species. Okay, so that is we started. We begin from him. Next, we'll continue the chapter, the introduction of the chapter, diversity of living world. Here, talking about the biology. Biology is the science of life and living process. Biology is the science of life and living process. The living world comprises by the living world comprises by an amazing diversity of living organisms. However, living organisms show fundamental similarity in many respects. That living organisms are showing fundamental similarity in many respects. The study of life involves a multidisciplinary approach involving many of the principles of chemistry, physics, mathematics too at some places. Biological systems are the most complex. Biological systems are the most complex chemical systems on the earth. The total earth, the biological systems are the more complex. Then the body of early organisms are at the cellular level. The body of early organisms are at the cellular level. We discussed already. Phylum Porifera is just group of cells. However, large organism, the large an organism is the cells of an organism are the basic units of the structure and function. Whatever that means, if you take a bigger human being even or a large size elephant that are a cockroach or an earthworm, any animal, if you take over, the cells of an organism are the basic units of structure and function. Cells of an organism are the basic units of structure and function. That to be remembered over. So organisms constantly interact with their surrounding environment. Organisms constantly interact with their surrounding environment, exchanging energy and recycling the minerals. Exchanging energy and recycling the minerals, we are going to learn as a separate topic in 8th chapter in Man and Biosphere in the form of biogeochemical cycles and energy flow in ecosystem. So just you need to understand this is just an introduction area. The intricate chemical processes of cells are based on the basic principles of chemistry. Every level every level of biological organization involves energy transactions governed by the laws of thermodynamics. So this area we're going to discuss in ecology chapter in detail in the form of energy flow in ecosystem. The fundamental source of energy for all biological systems is the sun. How that means the green plants over a period of several millions of years evolved and have mastered the art of converting solar energy into chemical energy. We call them as autotrophic organisms, isn't it? That they prepare their own food material and the reaction pass it on to the higher living organism to keep it life going. Okay, then life defies simple definition. Also, one can easily perceive the difference between the inanimate matter. So this is a word to be remembered. This is just introduction area, just formality. I'm reading all this. Inanimate matter. That means wind, sea, fire. What do you say that all inanimate matter? and living organism. Life defies simple definition. Also, one can easily perceive the difference between the non-living and living. We are talking about non-living and living. Okay, the cellular organization, ordered complexity, the cellular organization, ordered complexity, ability to reproduce themselves, showing growth and utilization and transfer of energy, maintaining the constancy in the internal environment, that in the with the surrounding environment, irritability, that means showing response and sensitivity to the stimuli. What you say, all these are said to be that the things which can make the difference between the living substances and non-living substances. I'll write with numbers here. That cellular organization, ordered complexity, ability to reproduce themselves, showing growth, and utilization and transfer of energy, maintaining constancy in the internal environment in spite of the variations of the surrounding environment, irritability, that means showing sensitivity to the stimuli, which what do you say, all these are said to be that making the difference between the inanimate matter, non-living substance, and living substance. How? Let us see in the form of some issues here, some definitions, some statements they are going to make, that exhibiting to adapt and the evolve, change from simple structure to complex, are some of the traits of life. What we said now, the last line, that are the adapting to the surrounding environment and evolution process is also, that is number 8, we see. Okay, so they are all said to be the traits of life and living organisms. Diversity in living organisms comes from their ability to change. The diversity in living organisms that comes from their ability to change. The process of evolution is continuous and the near forms evolve continuously. What do you say it as? Descent with modification. The process of evolution is continuous and near forms evolve continuously. Actually, this is the first page of the textbook. Then why I am coming last? Because I have shown some evidences. We have more evidences in that organic evolution chapter, but remember the true story I said that a particular single species, because of geographical isolation in India, in Sri Lanka, in Myanmar, that was changed to their respective environment and made the three subspecies. Did you remember that? By keeping that in mind, you try to understand these particular lines. The process of evolution is continuous and newer forms evolve continuously. That we call it as descent with modification. While some perish in the struggle for existence, as envisaged by Charles Darwin. Okay, what is struggle for existence? That is the bigger issue here. The struggle for existence, that tiger and deer, the fight between the tiger and deer. This is struggle for existence. What do you think? So that means tiger eating the deer. Interspecific struggle. Technically we can call, but we are just in first year. This is the first page. This is the introduction. So no need to go that much here. Simply we say this is struggle for existence. That means a deer struggling themselves to get exist and not to die in the tiger hunt. But a tiger is searching for the food. If tiger can't eat the deer, that also die. Okay, that what you say struggle for existence. So how it leads to the evolution? That simply we say that the deer will try to improvise their faster running, and tiger also will try to improvise their running much faster than the deer. That means if a deer is having a performance of 60 kilometers per hour speed it can run, then tiger at least need to run with 61, isn't it? When tiger develops 61 to escape from the deer, that deer to escape from the tiger should improvise for 62 kilometers. Then it is need to improvise 63. So this process will go on. That what do you say? That is organic evolution. That is the adapting continuously with the surrounding environment. What happens if the deer is running with only 40 kilometer speed and tiger is having the greater speed? That means that's over. That's over. That in a period of time that may come for extinction. Always they'll try to improvise, and always these are also try to improvise. We have so many examples to learn that we say simply it as a natural selection. that we will discuss in the coming classes. Okay. Okay, wait, Amma. That let me complete. Then after I'll go with the doubts, whatever you have, you can ask over. Okay. Then next, evolution is the fundamental organizing principle of life, and it answers many questions about the life and its complexity. Evolution is the fundamental organizing principle of life, and it answers many questions about the life and its complexity. A scientific explanation for unity and diversity. Why organisms are having diversity? I think you got answer why the crow of India and why the crow of Sri Lanka are not the same color. Why? Why morphological differences are there? Evolution is answered for that, isn't it? What answer we got? Geographical isolation leads to the morphological variation which form the subspecies that we learned. So to understand that particular concept only, I little extended that area. Okay. The study and discovery of the molecular structure of the DNA by Watson and Crick. We are now moving in the science of the genetics. That Watson and Crick, the molecular structure of DNA, they are revealed by Watson and Crick, is a major event in the 20th century of the study of biology. It revealed how DNA can store information and could serve as the chemical basis of inheritance. Now, all the people know that our chromosomes, our genes containing that DNA are responsible for the inheritance of the new characters from the parents to the next generation. Automatic DNA sequencing machines. The automatic DNA sequencing machines. Okay, we got automatic DNA sequencing machines and the enormous computing power of the present day computers as a part of the Human Genome Project have laid inroads to understand genetic basis of disease, gene therapy, and gene modification to understand life better, to improve the quality of human life in particular. This is what you say, Human Genome Project. The project who gets started in 1990 and was completed in 2003. After that, the forensic science is much developed and much organized nowadays. You may hard over in so many movies also you'll find that DNA test, that earlier fingerprint test, blood group testing people used to do, that advancement in the technology. We are doing gene therapy and we are making the reasons for the diseases like hemophilia and color blindness, and we are making the modification treatments, gene modifications. Okay, and the crime, you may have heard over forensic DNA fingerprinting. So all of that because of advancement in the genetics science. Okay, comparative studies of DNA and RNA brought in the necessity of classifying living organisms into three domains. Till the time we have seen that is introduction only. Now you need to remember this particular concept. Domains, three domains. What are they? Namely, bacteria, archaea, eukarya. There are three domains: bacteria, archaea, and eukarya. Okay. So, who is domain? We said already the taxonomic hierarchy like kingdom, phylum, class, order, obligate categories. Okay, order, family, genus, and species. We made the taxonomic categories, isn't it? So the domain is above on that. Domain is bigger than the kingdom. Okay, so the domains, namely bacteria, archaea, and eukarya. The five kingdom classification. These we are going to learn in detail in botany, biological classification chapter. The five kingdom classification by Robert H. Whittaker, followed until a few decades ago, has given place to six kingdoms, namely that bacteria, archaea, protista, fungi, plantae, and animalia. Okay, so now I think you got the clear clarity where if it is completed in the body. Now we are following five kingdom classification of the Robert Whittaker, isn't it? Bacteria or archaea is termed as kingdom Monirana. That you have a separate chapter in the botany, kingdom Monera, protista, fungi, plantae, animalia. That here domains are three: bacteria, archaea, and eukarya, which is above the kingdom. So just you remember that only. That also given in our botany first year introduction chapter. The increase in complexity is right from the simple cellular level to the organism level, followed by population, community, ecosystem, and levels in the biosphere. Okay, so that means the cellular level to the organism level. That means group of cells form a tissue, group of tissues form the organs form the organ systems form organism, group of organisms, the same species we call population. Different populations we say community. Community with an environment is called ecosystem. And next, the ecosystem, it will go on. We'll discuss in the next page. We'll discuss ecosystem, then biome, then biosphere, all that we'll discuss. All the habitable zones of the life on earth, we say biosphere. We have a separate chapter. Don't worry about anything here in the first page, whatever came. We have separate chapters for everything. The biosphere means all the habitable zones of the life on earth, life existence possibility. Where it is possible, that we say that is biosphere. Okay, the continuity of life is based on heritable genetic information in the DNA and in some cases RNA. That means in case of viruses, RNA is going to be the genetic material in them. Excuse me. Then that for us is the DNA is a genetic material which transferring the characters from parents to the children, isn't it? So in the following subunits of this unit, you will get an insight into life. Now in this chapter, what we are going to learn, an insight into life, the life description of some of the basic traits of the life, complexity of organization, nomenclature, classification from taxonomical angle. We have completed some, and now let's start. Let's start the chapter. Let's start the chapter. So life, what is life? We started from here. What is life? So let me show you once again. 1.1, what is life? 1.2, nature, scope and meaning of biology, zoology. 1.3, branches of zoology were completed. The need for classification, mostly completed. Some zoos and museums are there that will go with them. Next, biological classification, levels of hierarchy of classification, nomenclature, concept of species, kingdom Animalia. We are completed everything. So this is up to a certain unit. This is up to a certain unit. So now opening the textbook for me is a formality, that's all. That some issues are there. For that issue, so we open the text and we learn that area, that our kingdom Animalia classification, those people who are there, I think from the beginning, you people are aware of kingdom Animalia classification, which is very important to understand these lines. So now let's start. What is life? Life is an exclusive property of the various types of living organisms in the world. The recent discovery of fossils of some microscopic organisms extend the known history of life on the earth is to about 3.5 billion years. Okay, biology is the science dealing with the study of living organisms which are broadly classified into the microorganisms, plants, and animals. Earlier classification, that is, in spite of their wide diversity, and they show fundamental uniformity in possessing the protoplasm with the genetic substance, the DNA, which is made up of nucleotides universally. Universally means any organism. In any other organism, it will be like that only. So, what are the properties of living organisms? So that we get started. What are the properties of living organisms? The first one is cellular organization and highly ordered structure. The first property of living organism is cellular organization and highly ordered structure. An organism's body is made up of one to many cells, which are the structural and functional units of the body. Cells are considered as structural and functional units of the body. Each cell is isolated from the cell surrounding it by a limiting membrane called plasma membrane. So when we are talking about that, one cell is get separated with the other cell with the help of a limiting membrane called as plasma membrane. Okay. Then this membrane controls the exchange of various substances across. So what to be exchanged, what not to be exchanged, that all will be decided by that membrane. Selective permeability or semi-permeability. We use that word, selective permeability or semi-permeability. Okay, so let me change the color. Let me go with red. Selective permeability or semi-permeability, we can see. Okay, then next, the two major kinds of the cells occur in the living world: prokaryotic cells without a distinct nuclei and eukaryotic cells with distinct nuclei. Okay, the prokaryotic cells without distinct nuclei. That means, first of all, let me draw eukaryotic cell for you. Eukaryotic cell means the cell which contain a proper nuclear membrane and the chromosomal content with the proper chromosomal content. Okay, like this. But when it comes to the prokaryotic cell, in case of prokaryotic cell, the cell is there, bacteria I'm talking about, but the nucleatic material may present, but that is not surrounded by nuclear membrane. Okay, so this is a very important concept here. You may learn this in botany also, that this is eukarya, proper nuclear membrane. Eukarya. Okay, so what is this? Prokarya. Eukarya and prokarya. Prokaryotes, bacteria in general, without distinct nuclei. And the eukaryotic cells with distinct nuclei, the prokaryotic cells, nuclear material present, but no special nuclear membrane is present. Okay, that we say cellular organization and highly ordered structure. Okay, next let's move to the complexity of organization. A fundamental feature of life is the presence of high degree of order. High degree of order. Living organisms show hierarchical organization such as cellular level, tissue level, organ system level. So I think I can expect examples from you, isn't it? Cellular level, phylum. Yes, any one of you answer the cellular level of organization is present in?
Porifera.
Very good. Phylum Porifera. Next, tissue level of organization seen in?
Cnidaria Stenophora.
Cnidaria and Ctenophora. Okay. Then organ system level of organization is seen in? We learned as grade bilateria or triploblastica is with organ system grade. Particularly, they mentioned one more level that we have to say. Organ level of organization in platyhelminthes. Organ system level is seen in the nematoda to chordata. We have some change we are making. In kingdom Animalia, we learn like that. Platyhelminthes to chordata, organ system. But when we go little deeper, Platyhelminthes is having only organs, no system. So that's the organ level of organization is there in platyhelminthes. Organ system level of organization is from phylum Nematoda to chordata. Okay, so I think you understand why I am coming to this topic last. That I explained kingdom Animalia, I explained concept of species. Then after I came here, why? Because that everything, whatever here we are reading, that is not at all new. That we already learned. Several organ systems make up an organism, like digestive, respiratory, circulatory, excretory. All these systems are going to make an organism. Okay, this type of ordered complexity is not seen in the non-living substances. How can you see that? Cell, tissue, organ system. Can you see them in non-living substances? No. The hierarchy of life can be schematically represented as follows, starting from the inorganic elements that go into the constitution of the protoplasm. From there onwards, we are showing the visual the sequencing of the hierarchy of organisms. This like this, starting from the atoms, molecules, cell, tissue, organ system, organism. Group of organisms are called population. Group of populations are called community. Community with their relationship with environment is called ecosystem. Group of ecosystems we say biosphere. So atom to biosphere. Atom, molecules, Cell, tissue, and tissue make organ make organ systems make organism, then population, community, ecosystem, finally biosphere. Okay. So these representation include both inorganic and organic components. As living substance is made up of several inorganic constituents and life processes involve continuous exchange and recycling of inorganic elements. This line we are going to learn in detail in chapter ecology, man and biosphere. Okay. Next heading, sensitivity and response to the environment. Sensitivity and response to the environment. We are taking one more heading here. Every organism is having this kind of response to the environment. It is the property of showing response to the external or internal stimuli received through various kinds of sense organs, like visibility with eye, audibility with ears, likewise. Living organisms show response to the environmental stimuli, which could be physical, chemical, or biological. The plants show sensitivity to environmental factors like light, temperature, that what do you call, we have some technical terms, phototaxis, photokinesis, that all we are going to learn in ecology. Simply you need to understand, if it is a life substance, definitely responds to the stimuli. If a stimuli it comes, that organism respond against them. So response to the stimuli is the property of living organism. Okay. So now we are looking forward that particular characters which make separation of life with non-living substances. Okay. Next. The growth is one of the fundamental characters of living beings, including the unicellular organisms. The growth is one of the fundamental characters of living beings. So, growth we have to take into consideration for organism, for a substance which is live or non-living substance. Increase in mass, increase in number are twin characteristics of growth. So, this is very important line here. Increase in mass, increase in number are twin characteristics of growth. Need to be much focused there. I think some non-living substances also may show the tendency of the growth, but growth in living beings is growth from inside. That means a stone, by accumulating the substances from surrounding it, may increase the size. Can you say that stone has a life? No, not at all. So then, how you recognize the living being? Living beings growth is from inside. The growth of living organisms is from inside, whereas the growth in the non-living things is by accumulation of the materials from the surface. But living organisms grow from inside. The higher plants show growth all their life, isn't it? The plants, some of the plants will grow throughout the life, producing new branches, new leaves. Whereas it is limited in case of animals. If you take human being, less than by age 18, 20, our growth will be stopped over. Growth cannot be taken as a defined property. Why growth cannot be taken as a defined property? That as non-living structures also show growth in some respects. That's why, according to NCRT text, they said, we'll discuss NCRT text also, diversity of living world. There also we'll discuss. Then what we said, growth is cannot be considered as a life property, living property. Why? Because some non-living substances are also growing. Okay, outside from outside they are growing, but growing. That's why we cannot say the growth is cannot be taken as a defining property. Okay. Next, that energy utilization, energy processing, and energy metabolism. Energy utilization, energy processing, and metabolism. Okay, so there's one more property to say it as life. The sum total of all the chemical reactions occurring in the bodies of organisms constitute metabolism. All the activities of the body, we say, the digestion, respiration, circulation, every chemical reaction which occur in the body is constitute metabolism. And it is a defining feature of all living organisms without exception. That all living organisms show metabolic activities. Life activities require energy. Life activities require energy in different forms. The chief source of energy for living organisms is a sunlight, isn't it? Energy is transferred from one trophic level to the another trophic level. So that what do you say, food chains we call them as, we'll discuss in ecology, but let me show you. A plant produce the food stuffs, the process called autotrophy by using the sunlight, and the plants are eaten by deer and deer is eaten by tiger. So what do you say it as? One trophic level to the another trophic level. Energy is going to be transferred from one trophic level, from the plants to the deer to the tiger. So we call these are all trophic levels. Okay, so the trophic, what is trophic? Nutrients. The nutrient transfer levels are considered as trophic levels. Let me write the trophic level. Okay, so then the chief source of energy we said that is sunlight, and it transfer from energy is going to be transferred from one trophic level to the another level. The life processes which build up or store energy are called as anabolic process, and the process involving the expenditure of uh, energy is called catabolic process. Together they constitute metabolism. That means metabolism include two, anabolism and catabolism. Formation, that we say anabolism, that breakdown we call catabolism. Anabolism and catabolism both are required for the life. Okay, so then at ATP is the chief energy carrier of various reactions in living systems, and it is appropriately described as a cellular currency energy. That means ATP we consider as a cellular currency energy. Okay, next we'll go with the reproduction. One more property of life. Living organisms produce young ones of their kind using molecules of heredity, the DNA molecules which are passed on to the offspring. It is important to know that life comes only from the life. We say biogenesis. This is the very important to be remembered. Life comes from life. That means a child birth occurs from their parents. So life comes from life. So that what do you say? Reproduction is the characteristic of all living organisms. Occurs by a vegetative reproduction maybe, or a sexual reproduction or sexual reproduction. Whatever it may be, reproduction is compulsory by all living organisms. The sexual method involves a fusion of gametes forming a zygote, like a sperm and ovum fertilize and form the zygote, which through various stages of development becomes an young organism, which we discussed yesterday. That however, some organisms do not reproduce. So like mule, that sterile worker honeybees, infertile human couples. So if you take reproduction as a property of life, that if I announce that the people who are doing reproduction only they are considered as life, if I announce like that, but what about mules? What about sterile worker bee? What about the infertile human couples, those who don't have children? We say them are all of them are non-living substances. No, isn't it? So that's why reproduction maybe can't be the criteria actually. The protozoans reproduce by asexual methods such as binary fission. Sponges and hydra reproduce by budding. They're all said to be asexual reproduction methods. In planarians, the fragmentation of the body by fission. Yeah, the body will cut into pieces and regenerate the lost parts of the body becomes a new organism. That means if you cut the organism, that every piece is going to develop a new organism. So that what you call regeneration power. Okay, so that is a kind of reproduction we see. But higher organisms are showing sexual reproduction only. Lower organisms, some are showing asexual, some are showing sexual, some are showing both. We'll discuss when we go to the animal kingdom chapter. And next, homeostasis. Maintenance of the relatively constant internal condition, steady state from different from the surrounding environment is called homeostasis. That means simply we say maintenance of temperature and maintenance of water. The maintenance of balance of temperature, maintenance of balance of water. That what do you say? It as homeostasis. Okay. So that means it is a dynamic constancy of the internal environment of an organism within a range that cells can tolerate. Living organisms can maintain constant internal environment by various physical adaptations. We'll discuss this in ecology. Next, evolution. Have a separate chapter, organic evolution. Here they try to give little bit information about the evolution. The life is not static. Life is not static. What is life then? What is life? Life is dynamic. From the beginning, we are coming to say life is dynamic. It constantly changes. Dynamic from simple to more complex forms. The variations in organisms arise through mutations. Mutation means sudden changes in the gene or gene recombination. The different kinds of combinations. We discuss more in genetics. And Charles Darwin's natural selection theory states that living beings accumulate their beneficial variation. That means that variations are beneficial, they retain over a period of time and tend to evolve gradually into new types of organisms after surviving the struggle for existence. We discuss now only what is struggle for existence. Okay, that means if any new beneficial variations are developed in an organism because of the struggle for existence, that particular beneficial variations can be retained by that organisms. That will take a lot of time, not for explanation, even for explanation, but millions of years of time it will take such kind of adaptation. Okay, senescence and mortality. The one more property of life substance. Living beings are born, grow into mature forms, undergo aging process, and finally die. The process of aging is called senescence. The process of aging is called senescence, which leads to the death or mortality. Mortality, nothing but death, you see. The living beings are thus mortal. That means mortality is there. That those who have mortality, we can say that is living being, isn't it? Those who have mortality, we can say it as living being. Okay. So then I'm going to stop here. I'm going to stop here itself, and we'll discuss in the next part that, because this is a little bit complicated portion. We'll discuss that in the next part. Okay. Let's try to learn this particular interesting story. For example, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, that sulfur, phosphorus. When I'm saying these inorganic and organic elements, do these organic and inorganic elements having the property of life? No. When they interact in a proper combination, they may form a life-like substance, isn't it? That we say a cell, okay, or a cellular organelle, like mitochondria, like endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi complex, whatever. Okay, so that means what is the meaning here? A brick is not having the property of house, but interaction of the bricks can make a house, what they are saying. So that you just understand their concept actually. So I'm starting from here. You see this line. The properties of the cellular organelles are not present in the molecular constants of the organelle, but arise as a result of interactions among the molecular components comprising the organelle. Okay, so that means a property of a cellular organelle. You may have learned over in your earlier classes. Mitochondria is powerhouse of animal cell. It contains ATP, adenosine triphosphate. That means it contains phosphorus. It contains carbon. It contains nitrogen. So individually, phosphorus, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen are not having the property of powerhouse of animal cell, but the interaction which made a cytoorganelle called as mitochondria, and mitochondria is having the property of a function, cellular organelle function, like powerhouse of animal cell. So that in that context, you try to understand that line again. Since the properties of cellular organelles are not present in the molecular constant, that means they are not present in the carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, but when does the property will be raised over? When they interact. When they interact among the molecular component comprising the organelle. You have to understand this in the whole level. For example, that a cell, a skin cell, squamous cell, we used to say, a cell, the squamous epithelium. If I ask you, what is squamous epithelium? You may not answer at present because this is the introduction. If I say squamous epithelium is nothing but skin, okay. So what is the function of skin? Skin for protection. A single cell can make the protection. So that means a single cell cannot having the property of production, but interaction of the cells which form a tissue, and that tissue is forming a skin like a part that is for protection. We are talking about. Got my point here? That a property of organ that will be formed by that combination of tissues. Okay, that means heart. We say heart pumps the blood to body part. What is heart? Organ. Heart contains cardiac muscle. If I bring cardiac muscles in the laboratory, that cardiac muscle pump the blood in the laboratory also? No. Interaction between the cardiac muscle and other tissues can form a organ. So that you have to understand that line. That means, let me say you again, that a brick cannot form the house. A brick don't have the property of house. The interaction of the bricks can make the property of the house. Interaction of the bricks can make the property of the house. Let's read these. All the life phenomena like nutrition, respiration, excretion, irritability are due to interaction. This is the keyword in the total paragraph. Interaction between the various components of an organism. The properties of tissues are not present in all the constituent cells. That means, as I said, the tissue, the squamous epithelium, which is nothing but called skin, that property is protection. But every cell, individual cell don't have that capacity of protection. So what do you say? The properties of the tissues are not present in all the constituent cell, but arise as a result of interaction of the cell. So that you need to understand. That is a very important line here. Okay, so the finally we are closing that biology is a story of life and evolution of living organisms on the earth. All living organisms, the present, past, and future, are linked to one another by sharing a common genetic material, but to varying degrees. Okay, so then we'll continue with the nature, scope, and meaning of zoology in the next class.